It's my life and I can be who I want to, be who I want to, be who I want to. You should be you, you should be you.
So this series of sketches, or collection of sketches, were doodles, actually, that kind of kept me motivated and going during a very busy time in life. I had two little kids, one in elementary school, one in middle school, and I was taking night courses to gain my bachelor's, and I had decided to pursue a undergraduate degree in psychology because I had decided at some point about 5 years before that I needed to understand better how or why childhood trauma impacts each of us so severely as we enter the different phases of our adult life. And of course, that was based on my own personal experiences and how I was watching my children grow and how I was rearing them similar but different than my own upbringing, and how I wanted to show up for them. And so this series, basically, these truly were the doodles that were going on in my mind each night as I sat in class, as my peers and the instructors would engage and go back and forth. And for the most part, I had got permission from most of my instructors, or they at least knew, and the class knew that that's kind of what I had to do to focus. So, in class, a lot of times you have those people who are tappers on their desk. They call them the drum players. And then you have those who constantly make the jokes. And you have those who are really super serious about their studies and they're there for business. And then you have folks like me who, I'm there to gain as much information as I can. But because my mind goes about 1 million miles per second, I had to calm myself down. And so in calming myself down so that I could digest and absorb the information and data that was being presented and shared, I had to refocus. And so because I'm a people watcher for the most part, always have been, I noticed at that time of my life that when I was watching individuals share their stories or looking them in their eyes when they were sharing their stories during class times, I would become really emotionally invested. And I could feel myself over time just kind of draining, and not in a negative way, but in a way that I knew I needed to kind of take control of. So that's what these sketches did. And I believe at this time, me and the kids were really heavy into church and doing outreach. And so we were doing a lot of volunteering. And so a lot of these images were just kind of showing how I was kind of transforming in my thought. I was coming to find that truly everything is everything and that everything is okay. I don't really know another way to say that in the moment. But at that point in time, everything being okay was really good for me, which in turn would present as being good for my children at that point anyways. And so the sketchings, they contain a lot of different line work. And at that time, the different lines that are presented in the sketchings, they represent energy. That's what I felt like. So when you see the different lines coming out of the bodies or stretching across the pages and they're following each other, I played with the lines and patterns and that, and chains. You'll see a lot of chains in the work. All of those represented what I'm believing was the bondage that I felt. I didn't only show the female side of it, but the male side of it, the family side of it, the friend side of it. These were all relationships that I was investigating fully for myself. And I just needed to know why and what for. And this was it. So these are really sketches of nothing, if I were to be honest. But I'm sure there's stories deep down in there that if I were able to sit down and just look at each image, I could kind of go back to some of the conversations that were being thrown back and forth at this time. And really, more or less, I believe at this time when I was in school, I was considering when I was asked, "What are you going to do with your degree, Dee? What do you plan to do when you finish with this?" And for me, it was that, hey, what I plan to do is I'm going to travel the world, and I'm going to visit children all over the place who feel unloved and unwanted, and I'm just going to give them hugs. And so everybody used to laugh at me in class, but then they were kind of like, "You're from Austin, so you're pretty weird. That sounds about right for you hippie types." So that's kind of how that was translated. But for me, that's cool. I did imagine going around and hugging children, and I was like, I felt like I had so much more love to give to children who I felt like needed that love, and that's all children. And so then as I started progressing a little bit more, healing a little bit more, my eyes started opening a little bit more. I started seeing the world for the big old place that it really is. Excuse me. And I started to think, okay, not just children, adults too. All these grown-ups walking around dressed up and pretending to be grown-ups, they need hugs too. And maybe not a physical hug all the time, but how can I provide hugs as a service with my words, with my energy, with my actions, just with all of my being? And so that's kind of where this all went. And so, again, no rhyme or reason for these sketches, just really evidence of my mental status at that particular time. I had fun, I'll say that. And I believe I learned a lot, more so about myself than ever before. And so it's pretty special.